So, little reason why when you're doing something like this, take everything off, leave no stone unturned. Bugger. Now I don't know if this is as bad as that looks, but I took this off a second ago and I went, oh, that's a Barry Crocker. Don't know how deep it is yet, but I'll be getting onto that straight away. And another little one in the side panels here. That's a good one. Unfortunately, just never know where these things are going to rust. Not so good one. Not a real hard repair. I guess we can, again, I guess I can use some of that sill, create a lip. Probably don't even need to use a hole like to create that shape, because we've got all that. That'd be enough to hold the indicator as long as we can fill all that in. But again, that's another repair. It's going to have to be done. So yeah, you never know. I mean, this thing looked really good. I must admit, I've never taken that panel off, obviously. And yeah, so get the wire brush here, and we'll have a look at that in a while. Well, it's been a long time between drinks. Work gets in the way, and been a rotten start of the year with the loss of our little boy. But that's life, I suppose. Just trying to remember where I was last time. I haven't touched this thing for a month now. I'll just have a look at the cross member and the work I did a month ago. Pretty happy with it. Glad I put that doubler in there, and I'm just looking at it and I just think, God, these things are weak. Probably an ad for the other brand. We won't mention what that brand is, but if you can see there, you can see there's one spot weld there, and this is obviously the top piece of the cross member going up. And have a good look at that spot weld. Lights, yeah, you can see that. It's pulled the spot weld out, but that's only one thing. If you have a look at that vertical ridge going up, just adjacent to that spot weld, it's still pretty straight. Panning over to the left, you can see that there's a big gap between the chassis rail and the cross member flap, you want to call it. They're pretty badly finished, weren't they? And have a look at this welding here. If I tap it, look at that. That's rubbish, and that's out of factory. And same again. Just really, it's almost like it was an afterthought. But hey, it's the cross member. Ford have been doing this. Geez, they did this Mustangs and early GTs, all the early Falcons, blah blah blah. But I can't believe what a weak point the engine cross member is. So I'm going to have a look at what they did with the Group C racing cars. I've got a mate's got, I need to dig up an article, and it talks about where they double welded these things to race them at Bathurst. I'm sort of thinking just in advance that really there should be a bridge. Trying to hold the torch and do everything at once, but anyway, there we go, magnet. Flatten that flange out, which has been bent, and there's obviously the swing arms at max travel now. It's down on the stop, can't go any further. So I'm sort of thinking, you know, a piece of 1/8 steel across here, and then another double across here, and there probably wouldn't hurt, or even maybe a whole bridge right across that whole piece. And weld it in just to make that more rigid, because you can get that, and you can get a bit of flex out of this. This is a lot more solid than it was. I want to look back at it. The original welds along here weren't even connected. It was actually snapped off, and it had bent so far back that this flange was actually sitting inside the recess, and that was all crushed. Pretty happy with some of the welding I did on the doubler. That's point of case. That one there, gee, that magnet's good. And you can see that it's well and truly penetrated. That one there, it's come from the other side. So I'm pretty happy with that. And looking down the turret, you can see that that's the case. Turn the compressor off, blue. Used it for pumped up balloons. Kids party. So I'm going to look into that because I'm not still convinced that that's strong enough. Won't go there today, but happy with the work that I've done. It certainly is a lot straighter. Now, when I bolt the new steering inks, this is all going in the bin. Like I said, I've committed to the double RS. We'll get that in a couple of months. The thing's starting to move on. I expect this car to be in paint within a couple of months, so that's how far we're moved. Over the next few days, I'm hoping to get all this cleaned up. Speedo cable's got to go in the bin. So I think I can see it somewhere. I might be able to film it. There's the handbrake, the speedo cable's there. There it is there. So obviously that's no good. You can see that. So got one off Evil Bay, it's on its way. What else we got delivered of recent times? Well, I've been away. So a whole new set of engine mounts, $90. Good Mackay's, they'll do. Yeah, beauty, that was delivered too. That was happy with that. So we'll bin the old ones. I think I showed that before. That's all the insulation for inside the car. Rear spares stuff turned up. Okay, why don't we have power here? Oh, we're blowing a 15 amp fuse somewhere. Right, I better go and investigate that. I can't get the car down. That's an issue. But anyway, the rear spares body seals turned up. Something else turned up in the mail too. I can't remember what I've ordered. But we're starting to progress. So the next few days, today I'm hoping to get the radiator cross member. So that's today's job. And there it is out. So I'm going to have to cut all that out, make a few templates up and weld that in. And then the piece above that, make a new one of these, but I'm not going to put the holes in it. I don't see that it needs the holes because it doesn't cross the radiator's path. If it does, I'll just cut a bunch of a series of round holes. Obviously I'm not going to try and replicate that. That's beyond my capability. But yeah, so today's job, let's get that sorted out and weld them back into the car and fix the crack. I'll have to reach up because I can't get the car down. In there, I think I've showed that before. So anyway, that's what we're going to do today. Oh, no more. Son-in-law's here, so he's going to strip the old 351 down. I'll probably do a bit of footage of him doing that. He's all excited. So he's never stripped an engine down in his life. So, and the beer carton, well, that's there for a purpose. And whenever I've done heads in the past, I'll just number them 1 through 8, and then we can put 16 holes, put the valves in. And it's just a handy way of keeping all your valves and rockers and bolts all in order, that's all. Yep, that's it. Cool. Righto, I'm going to call it quits for the day. So, where are we at? We'll remove that piece of rubbish. Just went about there, something like that. And we've now got that. And that'll do. You get that under the car, you can't see it. So, as long as its structure is okay. It's ugly inside, don't really care. It's welded up fine. What I've got to do now is this little piece of joy. So, I've got to manufacture one of these. And I'm just thinking about that. And I don't think I'll put the lightning holes in it. I won't even attempt to do that. I'll just use my hole punch. Well, I've got a device that knocks a neat 30mm hole into metal, and I'll use that, and I'll just run a couple of lightning holes along so we can fill it up with corrosion inhibitor. But I'm not even sure if I need to do that. I'm going to think about it. I think I could maybe just use it solid, and solid would be a lot better, I think. So I'll have a bit of a sleep on that. But in the meantime, that shed's a pigsty. Isn't it, Dice?
Yeah, we're going to clean up mode now.
Yeah, a wife and daughter at home, so the boys have been kicked out of the shed, as usual. Gee, I better edit that bit of I suppose. Anyway, that's today, done. Righto. So I've just knocked up this cross member and the back plate, and I'll show you that in a sec. So here's the basic fit up. Not really happy at this point. I know this brace here did drop, and I undid the nut thinking that maybe it was under stress, but beg your pardon, I think it's just bent. It was uneven as soon as I released it from this cross member. So that's all new metal in there, and I've just put it together just to see if it all still lines up, and it does. And I've just rung my mate in Darwin to go and have a look at his, because I just want to see what his looks like. He's going to send me a photo in a sec. But so that cross member fits back up, that's okay. Put him down. So this is the outer piece. Let's take it back out with all its new metal in it. And that fold, I don't know if you can see that, is exactly, well, very, very close, exactly my arse bleed, but very, very close to how the original was. And now I'm thinking, geez, it should just be flat. I'm not a bit bemused at the moment. And there's the new piece of the front section that I've made up. So here's the old one here. I'm not going to redo the lightning holes. Lightning holes are that. They're just literally, as the term means, a lightning hole. So structure's still strong, but it weighs less. Care factor, we're not going to do that. So there, beg your pardon, upside down Miss Jane. So that's where that sat. And I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm pretty happy that I've managed to fold that up as is in a vise. I don't have a proper folding machine. So, you know, that's sitting, I think, bang on. I've just got that in place to hold it, and the Aconite holes are in exactly the right spot. So therefore, a bracket, I'm trying to remember what it was for now. There was a little bracket when the lower radiator bracket on that. So that looks all right, but these things have clearly moved. And look, no surprise, because it's got 2 cracks. So I think what I'll do before I go any further is really grind that out more. And I'll grind this rubbish out here. It looks like an old arc weld, or I don't know, a bad MIG. And I'll put some load on here. So I'll put a jack under here, try and straighten it out. Like I said before, there was some bits above this cross member. I think the car got hit that hard when it knocked the jacking pad clean off the front and bent the back of the cross member here. I think it's warped it somewhat, and those cracks there are an indication of that. So I'll just wait for mate sending the photo. I'm just wondering how that's gonna weld onto that piece there. Just doesn't look as I remember it. I'll go through some archival footage and see what it looks like. But at the end of the day, we've got pretty bloody close on this thing. So I've got a bit of panel beating there to line that up. You know, still a bit of hammering that's got to go on, straighten that back up. But it's not too bad. I'm just worried about, you know, the fact that this, unless when I took it off, I've beaten the snot out of it and warped that. So I just need to bring this up to be closer to here before we attempt to weld it. I don't want to strain it and weld it, you know. I'll be able to press this together and weld it and then just trim that down. That wasn't a neat cut when I did it, so but that's all going to be good, be nice and strong compared to what was left of the original, because it was just rust. And see how we go. I need the other hand back. Anyway, we'll see what transpires shortly. Oh, before I go, proving my own stupidity, if you got one of these badges on your XC, or I don't know if they put them on XBs and those, I'm not sure, but this used to say GXL, and I thought, what's that piece of rubbish, and bent it off. Yeah, got regret now. I should have left that on there. Anyway. Okay, so Warwick sent me the photo of his XC, and what it appeared to be is when I've broken away these spot welds, I did beat the living snot out of these, and they should be lipped up, and they're actually lipped. I actually bent it down a little bit, so I still don't think it's going to look exactly right, but it'll be a lot closer. So there was a weld on the end of these. You can see where it was. I remember that now. So I've bent it back up. I'll have a bit of a play of it. In the meantime, let's ignore that. I think we need to go backwards before we go forwards. So what I'm going to do, you can see that's cracked there, and you can see that's cracked there, and that was a half-assed, attempt at welding a crack in there. I think what I need to do is, like I said, cut that away there, and I'll get a really fine blade and cut this crack all the way. Open it up. In fact, I'll just open it up. And what I'm attempting to do here is not dissimilar to what happened with the metal stretched in the cross member. I'll put two slots up because the metal had got stretched. It didn't want to sit where it wanted to sit. Then I was able to fold it back in and then weld back into the slots, which I'd bent once I'd bent the metal back in, if you know what I mean. So metal had stretched. I think we might be facing a similar sort of thing, not as extreme here, but the metal is resting in a manner that's holding it away from this cross member, because that's nice and flat across there. So what I've done, dropped it down for the jack. I've got a bit of pressure on here, probably a little bit too much. It's just applying a bit on that, not much. And then with that pressure holding that up, even with this one, and probably a little bit higher at the moment, but I'm sure it'll want to tend to rest down anyway, we'll cut this open, get rid of this, and then re-weld it in the new rested position. That's my theory anyway. We'll give it a crack. I'm probably full of rubbish, but anyway. But that's what I'm going to do and see if it works. So I'm just going to cut it neat through there as best I can. Like I said, get rid of that. And then I'll get a piece of 1/8 steel, weld a couple of holes in it, and weld another plate over that entire section. It'd be nice to be able to fold one, but this has got a lip in it. I don't know why they did that. Now the other one's the same, so why Ford thought to do that, God only knows. Why it's got a little step in it. You think they could have designed a bit better than that, but anyway, obviously it's a weak stress point. But again, this car, she's had a beating. Like I said, when I first took it home, maybe 20 years ago, I took that much dirt out of it, you could have grown spuds. So we'll get onto this now before we come back and knock this over today, hopefully. The rest of it's come up pretty straight. It's a messy job if anyone's going to play in here. Just the way they're put together, it's I guess like the arse end of the car, it's pretty ad hoc. Anyway, moving on. There's plenty of other guys doing stuff on YouTube, I notice, and they're the same sort of issue, XBs, XCs, but this is probably a bit different, where we've got structural cracks. I've not seen that before. So she's had a bit of a hiding, this old girl. Well, to be honest with you, I really didn't expect this to work. But anyway, there's the weld. Beg your pardon. Not the prettiest in the world, not the worst in the world. I did it as hot as I could without burning holes through the metal. I had to go quite fast because I was doing it that hot, but I wanted to well and truly penetrate the structure. But this is the interesting thing. I'll just rise the car, but it looks like it worked, which I frankly did not expect. Just going to raise her up. Just lock that down, that'll do. good enough for this purpose. And that's done the job. Alright, that sounds like the grandbaby's on the little John Deere. You beauty. Right, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's better than I expected. As you can see, it's not really pushing on it. So I really didn't expect that to give that good a result, but okay. I think we can sort of proceed from here. Obviously I'll clean that up with a scotch wheel, make it look a bit pretty. But yeah, surprise. We'll continue. Righto, so the first piece has been welded in. Points of interest here. There's very little holding this frame onto the front, I guess you'd call it subframe, remember, that'd be the correct word, not chassis member, it's a subframe. There was nothing here. And, oh sorry, there was a tiny bit there and there was nothing here. So I've gone, really? So I've just done a weld. Again, I'm not the prettiest welder in the world, but it's effective. It's penetrated into the subframe there. Way strong. As you can see, this top bit's just a little blob there, and you know, there was an attempt of a blob. There used to be a blob there, believe it or not, between that gap. I've actually ground it away. It was doing not a lot. I might put one in from the back, build a weld up, but probably no need. And the rest of it's just stitched together with, you know, spot weld. I'm unsure about that there. I need to grind that flat before I finish in the front here. Holes. I put lightning holes in. Reason, because I want to fill it up with knockout rust. And once the front piece goes on, that won't be an option. You won't be able to get in there and fill it up with knockout rust or whatever you choose to use, which is, again, down the torque box. It's a repair I did years and years ago, actually, when I first started playing with this car. And the torque, that whole section's been replaced, and with 1/8 steel, actually. And anyway, beside the point, I put a 29mm hole in there just so I can fill it up with knockout rust. I think they got a hole in them anyway. What's the other side look like? I can't remember. Yeah, they got a dirty big hole like that. So when I rebuilt the other side, I've made it solid all the way, because all that was rusted away anyway. This side wasn't too bad. And again, the lightning hole is just there to facilitate putting something in to ensure that you're not going to get the same problems again. We don't want to repeat history. I'm pretty happy the way that welded up. It's not too bad. What we're going to do now, so now we're going to put the front piece on. I've just hit some bare bits of metal with caliper paint. I like caliper paint. It dries really quick, and it's got a really high temperature resistance, 500 degrees. So, you know, if you're welding around the area, there's a good chance that it'll be able to resist peeling off. Not that it should matter. I will be fogging inside this cavity once it goes on. I think that's about it. I think we'll do a bit of a sweep and redress ourselves a little bit and then continue. Alright, so we're pretty close to welding this thing in now. So just a few things. That's lined up good. That's lined up good. And they're pretty close to where they were. So it looks like the cross member now has moved across a little bit. So you can see that's a line to the left now. That's interesting. Maybe that was the repair there. Not to worry, because there's still plenty of shoulder room. Now I know that looks god awful, putting it mildly, but look, it'll tidy up just fine. Just keep welding until it's right? That's my saying anyway. We'll see how we go, but I think this will be fine. So we're all new metal now. Still got to panel beat that up a little bit to get it in touch with that, but where it really joins is back here. It's not here. It's not the critical joint, I don't think. But anyway, it all forms the box section. That's probably shit film there, Blue. Sorry for swearing. But anyway, I'm not prepared to keep going with it beyond this. It's at the end of the day, it's a radiator cross member, and I've got to get on with it. It's all new metal. It's structurally sound. It's just ugly. That's okay. Okay. Where are we at? It's been a few days of distraction of late, so a bit behind the 8 ball. But anyway, fundamentally, I'm going to leave this where it is now. So I'll jump over and film from the other side in a sec. So that's all new metal I've put in there. And I had to make a whole new... Let's just climb over this thing. Excuse me. Sit on that nice new cross member. I had to make a whole new back plate. So you can see it's stitched there. It's stitched there. And I had to literally cut that out and weld it. I did that from a piece of that spare sill that I never used, and bent it all up in a vise. So it was just a matter of clamp it, knock it over a little bit, clamp it again, knock it over on a reference line. Same with that one there, and I'm pretty happy with that. Might look scrappy now. At the end of the day, you can't see this. This is all hidden away. This has one function, and that is to provide a box section that's nice and strong to replace the other one. The original one was thinner gauge, so that's better. The other thing is it wasn't seam welded like that, so I'm pretty happy with that actually. And there was a couple of holes here that I welded with the copper on the back of it and just ground them flat. Just ground that flat just for aesthetics. So I think when you're looking down the engine bay, you can see to sort of there. I don't think you can see there. I'm not going to grind that flat. I was going to paint over that. The other thing is, the reason is I guess we can see if it's going to grow cracks or anything, but we'll clean it up. It'll get painted up nice. I double welded here, and there was a hole there. So these things are held on spot weld there, spot weld there. So I've just added some more strength to it. And the other thing I'm doing of late, and I'll point here and here as a reference, I've wicked the welder up as high as I can to the point where almost like, here's an example where I welded in here, it actually started burning the metal there. Went okay, here, I'm welding 3 levels here, but I'm actually quite happy with that weld. Some expert might think that not, but I'm happy that I've got good penetration. That's a good strong weld. And this has really come through to almost blowing through the metal on the other side. So in other words, we're well and truly penetrated, which is what I want. So I'm confident that we've got a nice, strong radiator cross member now, as to compared to the thing that was barely even hanging in there. In fact, I think it was this side. Forward of the spot welds, there was nothing. It was just rusted straight through, so there was no strength there at all. When I put this together, I think I showed before, these come up nice and even prior to welding everything into place. So pretty happy with that. I'm not going to bother grinding everything flat here and all the rest of it. You could, but I just don't see the point. You know, it's not going to go to a show where they get a torch and mirror and, you know, look under here and all that. At the end of the day, it's done. You know, it's strong enough. Once it's painted black, who's going to tell the difference? I'll paint it black. I'll probably go put a bit of masking tape here forward, and I'll get Sean, when he paints the car, to the engine bay here back orange, and maybe here up or whatever. I'll see how I'm going to go, but I'll certainly do it kill rust forward. I might just do that in primer. I don't know. I'll come up with a solution yet. But that's where we're at with that. So that cross member's done. Engine cross member is nice. I'm happy with how that came up compared to how it was, and how out of shape it is. And as you can see, there's lots of clearance for the steering arm, which by the way is all going in the bin because we've bought the RRS system. I might just, these are factory welds, believe it or not. I might just double seam that up, and I might double seam down there and down there. In fact, it's not a might, I will. I'll get the wire brush, clean these areas up and put some better welds. So you can see the factory weld, it was just junk. Really, that's factory rubbish, frankly. Someone's done that weld. It hasn't cracked, it hasn't let go again. I did a bit more up there because there was a gap there. And I've doubled up this because this is all let go. That was a crack all the way through there. So as I said before, I cut it open and filled it in. I just ground that area flat. But again, I did that quite hot. I had it, I think, 7 and H on the settings on the Lincoln, so pretty hot. Pretty high sort of weld. But I'm only using 0.6. So probably need to run it that high. Still contemplating whether I'm going to run a strengthener across here and here underneath. Anyway, we'll just hop on out. Just excuse the bad filming. I won't stop filming. Oh, goodness me. I'm not getting younger. And we'll just have a look underneath. Grab my new fandangle torch. It's not that new now. It's had a bit of a flogging. And just having a look at how that came up. Again, I could weld all that flat. I might, that's welding from down onto the copper. I'll clean that up. Probably clean these ones up in here. Again, that's a fill weld. And yeah, okay, I'll give that a bit of a clean as well. But I'm pretty happy. It's not all of them came up that good, but it's good enough. Bit of a gap in there. In fact, I'm gonna have to seam that. That's no good. That's no bloody good at all, bloody you moron. All right. Yeah, that's nothing. That is a complete and utter fail. I'll just seam that up. That's done nothing, that, I don't think. Oh, it's probably come through, but it doesn't look great. Anyway, these are the trials of our day. That one definitely came through because I cleaned that up on the other side, so. Anyway, we're not too far off, so we'll just clean that up, bit more welding, paint that, so then the next mission today, once we finish all that up, is you can see here the up control arm bushes, and you should be able to see that there. You can see just how warped that is. They've done about 50,000 K, but K's are relevant to rubber bushings, like I keep saying, particularly in these old cars. They just die. They just die, and the way they work is, I'll explain it later actually, probably a better way to do it. So I've got a new set of Super Pros. We'll chuck in there later on today and get the wire brush, and by that I mean one of these little devices on my small grinder. I've worn the other one out, so I picked up a new one the other day, and clean all this crap out of here, and then finish the paint job inside the wheel arches. I don't know if I'll get that done today or not, but hopefully tomorrow we'll get that done. Then we'll go on, clean up in here, and finish the paint job in here. And on these, I guess, I don't know what you'd even call them. It's part of the front substructure. and the torque box obviously is there. But these things, you know, it's where the gearbox cross member goes. And they're cantilevered. If anyone's familiar with that term, cantilever means like a wing that doesn't have any other support, just carries through. I'm surprised there's no, you know what I mean? Anyway, they're a funny design. But yeah, I digress. And that's where we're trying to get today. Cheers.